What I have in my hands here is the greatest microphone preamp ever made. Now, I realize that is a bold statement, so stick with me to the end of this. This is serial number 1. And you see that little CC right there? Now, I've been using the prototype of this for 8 months, and a pair of them have been on my mix bus for this song. Now I'm losing it, going out of my... And this song. Now what the truck am I supposed to do with that hitch? And this song. I'm gonna throw my phone in a Percy Priest. Every song, literally every single song. And it has won vocal shootouts when I'm tracking vocals on every single singer I've tracked for the past 8 months. So you pull it out here, you get a little Cappy sticker. I love this that they put on all of their preamps. But let's get this open. I'm really proud of this, you guys. I can't tell you how fortunate I feel to have this. I'm not sure if you know whose signature that is, but this is my signature preamp. There's so much to tell you about this, and I cannot wait to show you how we came up with this, how we built this, and the history behind this, but none of that really matters if it doesn't sound good. So I put together a little piece of music. Every single thing that you're about to hear was tracked through this, and a pair of these was on the mix bus when I mixed this song. We're gonna get into all of this stuff, but I would like to introduce you guys to the Cappy Rune. Let's get into this. Now, I'll put links down below to download all of those files that you just heard, so you can really download everything and hear the raw files. There's no EQ or no compression on any of the stuff that we tracked. It was microphones straight into these preamps, straight to Pro Tools. Now, these preamps are based on the old Hyder consoles, and there was only a couple of those made. I think less than 6 of them made. And the original version of this preamp lived on my mix bus since August 2017. And the pair of those were on my mix bus for every single song. It was literally over 1,000 songs I had those on my mix bus for, and tracked tons and tons and tons of stuff through them. Now, this is the new version. This has 3 transformers in it. This is literally like a fader that has an extra 12 dB of gain, so you can run it super clean with the preamp all the way down and the fader all the way up. You can turn the fader all the way down and the preamp all the way up to get way more color and saturation, or obviously anywhere in between. We have got a polarity button, a mic/line button, so you can run line level stuff when you're mixing, or microphones when you're tracking. We've got a built-in pad, we've got 48 volt phantom power, and an 80 hertz high pass filter. And then you've got input impedance here right on the inside of the unit, so that way you can switch the impedance for the microphones if you'd like to match it up. In addition to 3 proprietary transformers, it also has the custom Cappy op amps that are a proprietary build only to them, and it is the biggest, sweetest, most wonderful sounding preamp I've ever used, and it works on everything. But really, the thing that makes this absolutely unstoppable is how well it works on the mix bus. in addition to how well it sounds tracking everything. So for as many times as I have talked about mixing through a pair of preamps, I've never actually taken the time to A/B it and show you guys how incredible it actually is. So we're gonna do that right now. I have the piece of music that you guys just heard, and I have taken everything off the mix bus after hardware, so that way there's nothing being affected, no limiters or anything like that. And I have removed the compressor and the SPL Big, so you are only hearing the difference between these preamps being on the mix bus and them not being on the mix bus, and it is insane. Now these are perfectly level matched, and you can see over here where it says peak, I have level matched them perfectly, which is really hard to do in the analog world, so I had to print one and then print the other and then level match them in a new session here. But they are minus 1.9 and minus 1.9. They are exactly the same peak volume. So when you hear, let's just take a listen. All right, here we go. So here is without, and halfway through, I'm going to switch it to the other one that was printed through the preamps. Now again, I want to reiterate, that's level matched. So that enormous jump in power and impact and volume, apparent volume, that is all because of what these preamps are doing to it, because those are the same volume, peak volume. So let's do that again. Here we go. So it's everything. There's saturation happening there that makes the mix louder. There is an overall size difference, like it just feels bigger. The low end of the kick drum, like from 100 hertz and down, totally changes, and it gets like thicker but more solid at the same time. I mean, it's just everything. There's only so many cliches that I could throw at this, but every single thing about it is better when running through these preamps. And that's why I've been doing it since 2017, and with these sonically since October last year. It's well over 1,000 songs. I have had this flavor or a version of this flavor on my mix bus, and this is why. Now, in terms of character, compared to other preamps, they are very, very, very open sounding. Like, I know it's a cliche that there's a blanket over it and someone took the blanket off, but that's really what these sound like. They are very clear and very open. They have a slightly aggressive, slightly forward mid-range that I love. It's one of the reasons why it works so well on mix bus. And the sub bass is very deep. Like the bottom end of these go really, really deep. Okay, so I want to walk you guys through the range of tones available in this. Now, this is your input and this is your output. You can look at this like a fader on a console. So most or all of the color is going to come from how hard you drive the input, and then you can use this to balance it out. So the more you turn this input up, the more color and saturation you're going to get, and the more you turn it down, the cleaner it's going to get. So I'm going to walk you through that. I have removed every single plugin from the mix bus post this and bypassed all the hardware. So we're only running through these, and that is it on the mix bus. So here we go. Here's where I have it set now. Let's try turning these up a little like this, and we'll turn this down. Now, to me, that's starting to get really obviously saturated. Let's go the polar opposite here. Now, what's crazy is the peak volume on this setting when it's much more saturated is actually several dB quieter than the last one that you just heard. Even though it sounds way louder, it's actually significantly quieter. Now, that said, this is a bit aggressive on the saturation for me. I usually run it a little cleaner than this, but that just kind of gives you guys a range. But let's crank it all the way and see what we come up with here. Yeah, that's just ripping, and actually that was like 4 or 5 dB quieter on peak level. So that shows you how you can raise your LUFS with the saturation in these without raising your peak level. So it just makes everything bigger and more impressive and louder. Now, these are completely hand assembled right here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's all built by like 2 people. And they're literally completely assembled by hand from scratch. Now, Cappy does a lot of different kits where you can buy them unassembled and assemble them yourself. But these and the hiders and the Platinum series, and they have a handful of models that you can only buy pre-assembled, and they're all done by hand in the factory here in Nashville. Now, I'll put a playlist down below so you can go check this music out. Every single song on there that's come out in the last 8 months was mixed through a pair of these, and the vocal was tracked through one of these. And I will also put a link to these down below to Cappy's website if you'd like to go pick some up. We're only doing 50 of these, and I'm keeping the first 4 because it's the coolest looking preamp. In addition to it being so incredible sounding, it is the coolest looking preamp ever. Now, I met Jeff, the owner of Cappy, back in 2016, I believe, and I began telling him that we need to do a collaboration. I need a signature model called the Cappy Rune. I was telling him this for years. And then one day in October last year, 2022, he just out of the blue sent me a picture of a prototype version of this faceplate. And I was like, yeah! I was trying to convince him so hard that I had already told him a bunch of different ideas about what I wanted and what I wanted it to look like. And so he just surprised me out of the blue one day. We went through a handful of revisions trying to get this to be all black, all murdered out, but still show up in photos because I do recall with photos when I'm mixing. And so since these are on my mix bus, they had to show up in a photo. Now, the next thing we did is I wanted to change the LEDs because if it's all murdered out, it looked kind of weird to have like green, yellow, and red LEDs because they actually are that color even when they're turned off. I thought that looked weird. So then I was like, we should get clear. Can we get clear that are just all, when they're off, there's no color to them? So Jeff went on this wild goose chase trying to hunt down these special LEDs for me. And then I was like, I don't want any color to them because I would just like them to be warm white. Let's just have them warm white when they're on. So that just adds to the whole murdered out vibe. And then I got this genius idea because these live on my mix bus and because I drive them into the red on every single song. That's literally my metric, is they go into the red on every song, on the loudest part of every song on my mix bus. I was like, what if we put, instead of 2 red LEDs, what if we put 2 green LEDs? Like, yeah, go there. And so finding these LEDs that were clear when off, but warm white when on, except for the top 2 that are clear when off and green when they come on, this was such a wild thing, and he had to redesign some of the circuitry to make all of this work. But I'm really, really pumped with this. I think this is the coolest looking preamp I've ever seen. I think that this is one of, if not the best sounding microphone preamp I've ever used. And it is hands down the best thing I've ever used on my mix bus ever, period, full stop. It wouldn't have my name on it if I didn't believe all of those things. First of all, let me just take a second and thank all of you guys, because without you guys, stuff like this wouldn't happen. Like I feel like we did this. I didn't really do this. We did this, and it means a lot to me. Thank you guys for being along on this journey with me. These will be up on Cappy's website. I'll put a link down below. We're only doing 50. I'm keeping 4 of them, so there's only 46 available. So get after them quick, because they are gonna go quick. These are gonna sell for $949, and that's a banger of a deal considering this has beat out $5,000 preamps. Literally in my big room, I'm in a vocal session, and it has beat out some very high-end microphone preamps, and it just slaughters everything on the mix bus. Now, sonically, this is the exact same sonic character as the Hider H2. They're new hiders, and that's why I've been using it for the past 8 months. I have serial number 1 and 2 of the original Hider H2s, and I got those because we knew we were gonna do this custom edition. If you're in the market for preamps to go on your mix bus like I've been preaching about for the entirety of this channel, or if you're in the market for some absolutely stunning, incredibly versatile microphone preamps, check these out. All right, I guess that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so pumped on this. Thank you guys for being a part of this journey. Thank you to Jeff and Joel over at Cappy for making this happen. I appreciate you guys. I love this stuff. I love this preamp. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.